There's a moment that quietly happens to millions of people sometime in their 40s. You open your banking app. The paycheck looks respectable. Bills are getting paid. The mortgage feels manageable. Your retirement account finally looks reassuring. And for the first time in your life, you stop feeling financially behind. But beneath that feeling of stability, something else is happening. Your financial life is becoming heavier. Quietly. Slowly. Almost invisibly. And that's what makes your 40s one of the most financially dangerous decades of your life. Because the 40s don't feel like a crisis decade. They feel like a reward decade. This is when people upgrade the house, buy the nicer SUV, take bigger vacations, relax financially because they believe they finally earned it. And in many ways, they have. But income growth creates a dangerous illusion. It makes every new obligation feel affordable, until later. Because the real threat of your 40s isn't reckless spending. It's permanent financial expansion. A slightly larger mortgage, a second car payment, higher insurance premiums, private school tuition, helping family members financially, convenient spending because life feels exhausting. None of these decisions feel catastrophic individually. That's why they're dangerous. Financial fragility in middle age rarely comes from one disastrous decision. It comes from accumulation. Small upgrades, repeated comforts, tiny increases in monthly obligations, until eventually your entire financial life depends on maintaining peak income indefinitely. And that creates a hidden pressure most people never talk about. You become successful, but trapped. That's why some of the most financially stressed people are not low earners. They're high earners with oversized fixed expenses. People who appear wealthy from the outside, but privately know something terrifying. If the income slows down, everything starts wobbling. And by your 40s, that possibility becomes more real than most people want to admit. Because careers change differently after 40. Energy changes differently after 40. Recovering from mistakes changes differently after 40. In your 20s, time protects you. In your 30s, growth still protects you. But in your 40s, consequences accelerate faster than recovery. And this is where one of the most dangerous psychological traps appears. I still have time. People say this constantly. I'll invest more next year. We'll downsize eventually. My income will probably keep rising. But financially, your 40s are no longer early. This is the exact decade where compounding either starts working aggressively for you or against you. A delayed decade here can permanently alter retirement outcomes, especially because most people underestimate how expensive aging becomes. Not just medically, emotionally, physically, practically. Your 40s are often the first decade where financial pressure starts coming from both directions at the same time. Children moving upward, parents aging downward, and you sitting in the middle. One generation still needing support, another generation beginning to require it. And this is where many retirement plans quietly begin bleeding. Not from recklessness, from responsibility. Helping parents, helping adult children, covering emergencies, supporting family during instability. Middle-aged adults often become financial shock absorbers for everyone around them. And over time, that role becomes expensive, especially when combined with another hidden force people rarely discuss honestly: exhaustion. By your 40s, many people are deeply tired. Tired from work pressure, tired from caregiving, tired from years of constant responsibility. And exhaustion changes financial behavior. You start paying for relief, more takeout, more delivery, more impulsive spending, more emotional purchases disguised as rewards. Again, none of it feels catastrophic. That's the pattern. The most dangerous financial behaviors of middle age rarely feel dangerous while they're happening. They feel justified. And externally, everything still looks successful. That's what makes this decade psychologically deceptive. People in their 40s often look financially stable right before long-term vulnerability starts accelerating underneath. And many people doing everything right still fall into this trap. They work hard. They save something. They own a home. They contribute to retirement accounts. But slowly, lifestyle growth begins outpacing wealth preservation. And after 10 or 15 years, retirement starts becoming mathematically fragile. Not because they failed, because they drifted. Quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. Meanwhile, many households confuse cash flow with wealth. But cash flow disappears the moment income slows down. Wealth is what remains afterward. That distinction becomes brutally important later in life, especially because your 40s are often when hidden costs begin accelerating all at once. Healthcare becomes more expensive, insurance premiums rise, home maintenance increases, teenagers become expensive, college pressure becomes immediate, and many people respond the same way they always have. They continue spending as though future income will solve everything later. That belief becomes one of the most expensive assumptions of middle age, because your highest earning years are not permission to relax financially. They are your narrowest window to build permanent security before time, health, and aging begin reducing your options. By the time most people reach their 50s, the consequences of their 40s are no longer invisible. They become structural. The mortgage now stretches dangerously close to retirement age. The lifestyle feels expensive to maintain. The retirement account suddenly doesn't look large enough. And this is when many people experience a private form of financial panic they never talk about openly. Because from the outside, their life still looks successful. But internally, they realize something terrifying. They may have spent 20 years building income without building enough freedom. That realization hits hard, because modern retirement is no longer just about reaching a certain age. It's about surviving decades of financial exposure after active income slows down. And many people unknowingly enter those years, carrying obligations designed for their peak earning decades. That mismatch becomes emotionally exhausting later in life. This is why financially secure retirees are rarely the people who simply earned the most. They are usually the people who protected adaptability the earliest, the people who protected margin. Margin is what allows you to survive layoffs without panic. Margin is what allows you to help family without destroying your future. Margin is what gives you choices when health changes unexpectedly. But margin is difficult to build in a culture constantly encouraging expansion. Bigger homes, more upgrades, more subscriptions, more convenient spending, more consumption disguised as self-care. And none of those decisions feel dangerous in the moment. That's what makes middle-age financial fragility so deceptive. The danger arrives slowly enough to feel normal, until one day, your future depends on maintaining a pace of earning and spending that may no longer be sustainable. That's why one of the most powerful financial decisions you can make in your 40s has nothing to do with finding the perfect investment. It's learning how to resist unconscious expansion. Not every raise needs to become lifestyle growth. Not every success needs to become a larger obligation. Not every phase of exhaustion needs to be medicated with spending. Because the people who enter retirement feeling safest are often not the people who looked richest during middle age. They're the people who quietly created breathing room, while others created appearances. And maybe that's the real reason your 40s become such a defining decade. Not because everything falls apart, but because this is the decade where your financial habits stop being temporary. They become destiny. The spending patterns, the saving patterns, the stress patterns, the assumptions about time. And for many people, the most expensive assumption of all is believing there will always be more time later. More time to save, more time to simplify, more time to reduce debt, more time to protect retirement. But eventually, later becomes now. And the people who feel calm financially in their 60s are usually the ones who stopped postponing difficult decisions in their 40s. They controlled lifestyle inflation before it controlled them. They invested consistently during peak earning years. They built emergency reserves. They protected flexibility. And perhaps most importantly, they learned that real wealth is not the ability to spend more. It's the ability to need less from the future. Because freedom in retirement is rarely created by dramatic financial genius. It's usually created by decades of quiet restraint, quiet discipline, quiet preparation. The kind nobody applauds during your 40s. But 20 years later, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. One person enters retirement, anxious and financially stretched. The other enters retirement with options. And those options were usually built long before retirement ever began. Which is exactly why your 40s quietly become one of the most financially dangerous decades of your life. Not because failure is guaranteed, but because comfort can slowly convince you that protection is no longer necessary. And that illusion has quietly destroyed more retirements than most people will ever realize. If this video made you think differently about your own financial future, subscribe, and stay close to this conversation. Because the most dangerous retirement mistakes are rarely dramatic. They're the quiet financial patterns people normalize years before the consequences finally appear.